What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the 30th edition of the Big Five Pod. Cope, listen, obviously, Kyle Morello, Jake Copestick, you know us by now. Uh, I've got two words for you, and
Say it.
I don't know what your reaction is going to be. I'm not too familiar with some of your emotions and thoughts on these things, so I don't really know what your reaction is going to be. But I'm just going to say it, and you're going to tell me how it makes you feel. Okay? See,
Okay.
look at him. He's already smiling.
Yeah.
You ready?
I think I know what's coming.
It's March.
That's right. Right it is. It's March. Best time of the year is here.
Damn right.
We have one more game in the regular season. Pretty much for some of these teams, St. Joe's is done. See you in
Hmm.
the A-10 tournament. But we're here. It's go time. We're going to give a couple teams are going to clinch automatic bids to the tournament on Sunday. I think it's Atlantic Sun, Missouri Valley, and then Northeast Conference, I think. Like teams are going to start to get bids,
Yeah.
and we're here, man. We're right in the thick of it, but it's the best time of the year. It's March. I'm so excited. I again, I know you're not really too familiar with how I feel in these things, but
Yeah, yeah.
very,
No,
very excited.
just not like we've been friends for like 5, 6 years or anything like that. So yeah, I don't know. Crazy, right? Anyway, we got a lot of basketball to get into. First of all, I just want to say that uh this was being recorded on Thursday night. There was basketball on today while the sun was up. Conference tournament basketball while the sun was up, and that is a significant development. So listen, it's here. It's March. We're happy. It's the best time of year. Let's get into it. We're gonna start off with a bang here. Game that just wrapped up here on Thursday night. Temple at home against UCF, winning on a Nick Jourdain putback layup off a missed free throw to win the game, 57-55. And an otherwise very ugly game from both sides, which we're gonna get into. Damian Dunn led Temple with 11 points on 3 of 10 from the field. Hicks and Jourdain, who we just mentioned, had 10 points each. Like I said, ugly game, ugly shooting game. Temple shot 36.7% from the field. UCF was no much better, 38.6. Funny enough, both teams shot exactly 6 of 23 from three, just not very good. Temple did out rebound the Knights here, 34-23, which is very good, and only 12 turnovers, which isn't like, I don't want to say only, like it's not double digits, like it could be less, but 12 for them isn't too bad, and UCF had 10, so they did lose the turnover margin, but not a sloppy game, but a lot of bricks, a lot of missed shot. Probably these bricks behind me, I don't know if that would even make up the amount of bricks that was combined with these two teams tonight, but Temple nonetheless comes out with a victory, an exciting Nick Jourdain putback on the last game of the year at the Liacouras Center. Can't really complain too much.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean it was ugly, but as we've talked about all year, and what Temple has kind of done Aaron McKee under Aaron McKee in conference play, they've won ugly games like this. As long as they're going to defend, and they had a huge advantage on the boards tonight. Offensively, they out rebounded them. Like you said, offensively, they out rebounded them 11-3 on the offensive glass. A lot of second chance points in the second half. And when you have an ugly game like this, and you go up against a defense like UCF, they get Michael Durr back. They have a big body in the middle. They will play man. They do a zone in them. They press a lot. They throw a bunch of different variations of defense at you. It throws you off and doesn't really let you get in a rhythm because you're always on your toes trying to think of how you can be whatever they're going to put in front of you. So a really tough game, really scrappy game. Not like the last one we saw where it was a thriller, a lot of scoring, goes to overtime. I mean, this was just a rock fight. They went into half with 14 made field goals combined between these two teams and 17 turnovers. It's terrible. Both teams cut down on the turnovers in the second half, but Temple won ugly. They made the plays when they had to. And in a game, like I said, when they won on the glass, especially the offensive glass, and got second chance points because shots weren't falling for them tonight. It was only fitting that this game ended on an offensive rebound putback because that's really what the difference was in this game, especially in the second half. It was ugly. Bricks, turnovers. I mean, it was deflections. It felt like UCF got a deflection like every other possession in the second half. But it was a fitting way to end this game because Temple they clawed, they grinded this one out, and it came down to rebounding. It came down to second chance points. They missed a lot of first attempts tonight, but they were able to make some of the second because they crashed the win. So a tough, a gritty win. they did the little things that pulled this one out in the end. Besides, a good win for them. It's kind of been rocky last couple games, but hey, can't complain because the game looked lost. Taylor Hendricks hits a big shot. CJ Kelly comes down, makes a really, really acrobatic layup and put him up one. Damian Dunn comes down and gets fouled and is able to give Temple chances to go up and then end up winning this game as well. So especially on a senior night too, for Damian Dunn and John Cooch and Ryan Sayers. Awesome win. Awesome. It wasn't pretty, but that's kind of been the story under Aaron McKee. It never really is with this team. So you'll take the win. Who cares if it's pretty or not? You'll definitely take the win.
Yeah, you'll take it. And like you've mentioned, we've seen them win these gritty rock fights under Aaron McKee, most notably the one against Houston when they upset the number one team in the country down there. They know how to win these games. Unfortunately, I don't like it when they get into these games because it means they're not shooting the ball well or they're turning it over a lot. They didn't in this game, but it has happened in the past. But at this stage of the season where they haven't been playing great, a win's a win against a quality team. We'll take it. We'll absolutely take it. Definitely something to hopefully build on as they go into the next game, which we'll mention in the latter half of this episode. All right, moving on. This was not pretty. Dayton beating LaSalle 77-53. Cleo Brentley 19 points and 8 boards on 5 of 15 from the field. There you go. Josh Nickelberry 15 points on 5 of 10 from the field. Not much offense outside of that, unfortunately, though. LaSalle only shooting 31.7% from the field, which is very, very ugly. And Dayton shot 54.7%. So they were on fire a little bit. Also on fire from three. They shot 52% from three. LaSalle only shot 29%. LaSalle, one thing they did well, they did win the offensive rebounding margin by 10, 18-8. That's pretty significant. And they had 12 turnovers, which isn't an insane amount. Dayton had 8, so they lost the turnover battle there too as well. But listen, I don't even know if we need to spend a ton of time in this game because this just came down to shot making. Dayton made a lot of their shots. LaSalle did not make nearly as many of their shots. And Dayton's a better team. We always talk about them being one of the better teams in the A10, and they're not going to go into the A10 tournament as the number 1 seed, but they're definitely among the top 3 or 4, and they could very well win this conference. So this is just a talent disparity and a shot making disparity, and ultimately LaSalle ended up on the wrong side of this one by a lot.
Yeah, for sure. And especially having to go to UD Arena and play. I know Dayton hasn't been great this year. They're still 20-10, 12-5 in the conference, but not really, I guess, what we're used to. It's just kind of tough because when I think of Dayton, I think of that OB Toppin team that got boned by COVID, not being able to play in the tournament. Regardless, it's still a tough place to play. It's still one of the top teams in this league. One thing I do want to point out, obviously there was a lot of guys that did not have good offensive nights. Talking about Cleo Brantley had 19, Josh Nickelberry 5 of 10 and 15 points off the bench. This was probably Rokas Yotuts' best game in the LaSalle uniform. He had to go up against maybe not only the best player he'd seen all year in Ron Holmes, but the best big in this conference. And he went toe-to-toe with him. 10 points, 9 boards, 3 blocks. Blocked him at the rim. Once in the first half, had an offensive rebound and put back over him right before the half to cut this lead. So it was a really good game from Rokas Yotus, even as a young player, showing a lot of good things this year. But this was really a game where I felt like it all came together. He hit a 3, he crashed the offensive glass, 5 offensive rebounds, but he could go toe to toe against one of the best players, not only in the A10, but one of the best that this LaSalle team has played against all year. So hats off to him. Played 24 minutes in this game too. He's only going to continue to get better. And with Mamadou Doucouré graduating this year, you have to imagine he'll be the starting center next year. So obviously, when you lose like this, they got off to another slow start. They were down 24-8 at one point, and then they ended up Dayton ran away with it at the end, outscoring LaSalle by 18 in the second half. But really good performance from Rokas Yotus. And if you're a LaSalle fan, you have to be happy about the future and what you saw from him. So again, I've said this multiple times on this pod. I'm not really one for moral victories when you lose a game, but to see Rokas Yotus play the way he did, you definitely have to be encouraged.
Yeah, I mean he played great, and he has been an underrated piece for them all year. I know he hasn't always had like those great scoring games that maybe other guys outside of Brantley and Nickelberry have had, like Deshaun Shepard, like Anwar Gill, like Jameer Brickus. Like they've had some pretty good scoring games, and they're the leader of the box score, if you will. And Jokic hasn't always had games like that, but he's been very, very solid all year. And he's young. He's going to grow. He's going to grow into his body a little bit more too, and be in the college weight room for another year after this. I'm excited to see what he does next year. It's going to be really interesting to see. And like you said, I don't love moral victories either, but definitely something good to take away that he played that well against Thrawn Holmes. So, not complaining there, but they got to shoot the basketball a little better. But that's neither here nor there. All right. That was the only loss, though, that we had in the Big Five this week. So we're going to go to these next two wins. Villanova continuing their good streak here, beating Seton Hall 76-72. Maybe not as low scoring as we had both thought, but definitely not an insanely high scoring game. I think part of that is some of the efficiency that Villanova stars had, which I'll get to right now. Justin Moore leading the way with 23 points on 6 of 10 from the field. Cam Whitmore also 6 of 10 from the field, but only 19 points. I say only, not as much as Justin Moore, but he still had a great game, obviously. Eric Dixon, 18 points and 8 rebounds on 4 of 7 from the field, but 9 of 10 from the line. Funny enough, that one missed free throw was the only missed free throw that Villanova took, or that they missed in the entire game. They were 22 of 23 from the line. Obviously, that's going to win you a lot of games. That's going to win you almost any game. Especially also they shot 53.7% from the field. And Seton Hall, not bad at 45.5, but definitely lower. Turnovers are a little bit of an issue. They had 14, which is a lot for them. And Seton Hall had 13. So they actually lost the turnover margin there, which is surprising. Although the Seton Hall team, we talk about their defense. We talk about how good their defense is under Sheen Holloway. It does make sense, especially traveling up there. So I'm not going to hold that insanely against them, facing one of the best defenses in the country. But nonetheless, they ended up on the right side of this one. It's a great victory. They're continuing to play well against quality teams. I'm excited to see what could be coming up this weekend too, especially against UConn. We'll get to that in a second. But Cope, this team's finally showing what they're made of here.
Yeah, and when we first started the spot, I said that this is probably a team that you're not going to want to see come March when Justin Moore gets not only back healthy, but gets his speed under him and gets back to playing like the Justin Moore that we know. And you're seeing that now. When he first came back, sure, he was scoring a little bit, but he was inefficient. Didn't look like he could really beat guys off the dribble. But now that he's getting more confident, they're letting him facilitate in the paint. They're getting him the ball on the block like all the great Villanova guards do. They not only can score down in the paint and down low, but they can facilitate out of there as well. And he's such a strong guy that when you even have a guy that's his size down there, he can usually take him off the bounce and score through him and score over him. So him being back, not only making threes, but able to score on the block is absolutely huge for them. But seems like it's all coming together. Cam Whitmore's been playing well. He had another good game. Eric Dixon, 3 blocks in this one to go along with his 18 points and 8 rebounds. And you talk about the free throw shooting. I believe there was another game this year where Eric Dixon missed a free throw late in the game. I think it was the St. John's game at home, I want to say. That spoiled like a perfect night from Nova from the free throw line. But what their free throw shooting does is late in games, and it happened exactly in this one. This was a 3-point game. Big question in basketball: do you foul up 3 late? Do you let the other team potentially try and tie the game with a 3? Do you try and put them on the line? And Nova's a team that's going to put teams on the line and is going to foul up 3 late because they're so good at making free throws. They're going to foul you and force you to make yours and not allow you to tie the game and try and close it out. And they were able to do that here, 22 of 23 from the free throw line. And look, Seton Hall, great punch in this game. Olamir Dawes had a really good game. They had trouble guarding Femi Odukale on the perimeter. He was able to knock down 2 threes, but also take guys off the dribble as well. And offensively, this was one of their probably one of their best games they've had all season. But when this game was close, if Seton Hall had a 4-point lead or they were up a little bit, this is a very, very back and forth game. Caleb Daniels, who's been in a bit of a funk lately, was 3 of 6 from the field, 3 of 5 from 3 in this game. All 3 of those threes coming in the second half, and they really, really needed them. Those were huge threes. Although we only had 9 points, they needed every single one to be able to pull out this win. They're clicking at the right time. Hopefully, they can get Caleb Daniels back in a rhythm now that they have 3 other guys in Whitmore, Dixon, and Justin Moore that are starting to click. But all around, a really good win. They made their free throws. You would like to see them cut down on those turnovers, but on the road against the Seton Hall defense, like you mentioned, we can give them a bit of a edge. Not going to be able to do that against UConn, but the way this team's playing right now, 6 of 7, they're starting to gain some momentum, and they even made the under consideration tab in Villanari's bracket. So guess there's a bit of a silver lining here, but regardless, we'll just take it for what this game is. We won't worry about that. We'll just take it one game at a time. Big road win again, and they got one more against a really good team, but they're starting to get hot. They're starting to play with some confidence, and they're starting to make shots. They're just starting to make threes, and the last couple of games they've made them, and that's why they've been able to win. Hopefully, they can keep this train rolling. But again, even though it's against a Seton Hall team under 500 in the conference, they struggle offensively. No Kadari Richmond, still a very good win to go on the road again.
Absolutely. And I'll say a couple things. Number one, as we saw on Monday night in the Philadelphia Catholic League championship game between Roman Catholic and Newman Goretti, foul up three. It works. If you're up three late in the game and the other team has the ball, you foul. Put them on the line because Newman Goretti did not do that. And Roman Catholic star player Xavier what Brown, is that his last name?
Xavier Brown, yes.
Xavier Brown goes down. He missed the first one actually, but then Newman missed the free throw. He went down, banked in a three to send it to overtime. And then when they were up three in overtime, they fouled, and it worked. So that won the Philadelphia Catholic championship. But I wanted to give a shout out to Xavier Brown there because that was pretty cool. And for Lansdale Catholic, Olivia Baccelli, I think her name is Baccelli.
It is Bacella.
Bacella. She's the one who hit a extremely deep three, like 2 feet past the college 3-point line to win for LC. So shout out to her as well. Just want to give a shout out there. But also back to Villanova. You mentioned a good point with Caleb Daniels, how he, was able to get back a little bit in this game to his scoring. I think like the addition of Justin Moore back in the lineup and playing well in the lineup impacts Caleb Daniels the most because now he's not relied on to be the secondary scorer to Eric Dixon. Now, granted, Justin Moore might take over the big scoring shoulder from Eric Dixon, and obviously Cam Whitmore's in there too. But I feel like especially early in the season, it was always either Dixon or Caleb Daniels scoring for them, and he had to. And sometimes he had some inefficient games. He had some great games too, but I think it just allows him to be more off the ball and more free, and maybe he can just be a spot up 3-point shooter, which is probably what he's best at. He's a good shooter, and I think having that creation of Justin Moore and being able to drive and kick out, and also having Eric Dixon there obviously too, it's just been very impactful for them. And I think if they want to make the tournament, if they make a little run here, that will be a key for them. So definitely watch out for that. And that's all I have to say about that. All right, moving on. St. Joe's in their last regular season game beating Richmond 83-67. Eric Reynolds was a star in this one, as he has been all season, especially late here. 33 points on 10 of 18 from the field. Lynn Greer the third, 20 points on 8 of 14 from the field. Cam Brown, 14 points on 5 of 13 from the field. Only 8 turnovers for Joe's. Pretty good. They haven't had a game like that, I feel like, in a while. Richmond had 10, so they did win the turnover battle there. And St. Joe shot 47.5% from the field. So very good game for them. Also, Rasheer Fleming had a good game too. All around great game for them. And they needed it going into the A10 tournament with some momentum here. So can't really complain here for the Joes.
No, not at all. They're another team, much like LaSalle, who they were on good winning streaks about a month ago, and then they kind of stumbled here to the finish line. But their senior night, probably Cameron Brown's best game in a St. Joe's uniform. Unfortunately, he has a COVID year. I just don't know how the scholarships are going to shake out, if there's going to be a spot for him. But he's been a guy started out hot this season. He started to come back to earth a little bit. 5 of 13, but did have 14 points. A great game from Lynn Greer. And how about Eric Reynolds? He's been dynamite the last 2 games. First Hawk since Jameer Nelson to have back-to-back 30-point games. How about that? Last 2 games, he's been absolutely on fire. His whether he's off the dribble going to his left, his step back to his left. I mean, this guy can hit tough shots from 3 and make him look easy, and he was hot here. So 10 of 18 from the field, 5 of 12 from the 3-point line. He was on fire. And best part about this game for me, obviously, it's you look at the great game that Eric Reynolds had, but the game that Rasheer Fleming had offensively and defensively, 2 of 5 from 3-point range, 12 boards, 3 assists, 2 steals, and a block. He's been really effective literally since the first game of the season when they had to play Houston in Annapolis at the Naval Academy. He's been super effective since day one, playing at the top of their 1-2-2 press. He's big. He's got long arms. He's got great activity on defense. Can really bother and slow down a ball handler. So then what they decided to do is drop into a 1-2-2 or a 3-2 zone. They played some zone defense with him playing at the top of it. And they basically just put their press into the half court. And it was pretty effective for a good chunk of this game. And, you look at the fact that they didn't have Kasper Klaczyk here, who, although he suited up, didn't play. They didn't have Ejike Obina again. They were going up against a really big center in Neil Quinn. He had 15 points and 3 rebounds. And I think you'll take that if you're down your 2 starting big men. So they had to adapt without the size on the court. And Rasheer Fleming had a terrific game on both ends of the court. And then you also look at Tyler Burton, really, really smooth, athletic wing who's maybe got some NBA potential, with some pro looks. Whether I think he'll be playing pro ball at some level, what he's done at Richmond. 10 points on 3 of 11 from the field. Those are the 2 best guys for Richmond. And if you're going to say, hey, we don't have our 2 big guys, and that's what these guys are going to do, you'll take that any day of the week. So they were able to slow down Richmond's 2 best players at least a little bit. The zone made him think a little bit. Here Fleming obviously was terrific playing at the top of that with his size on the smaller ball handlers for Richmond. But offensively, it's a great game. And then on senior night as well, send these guys off the right way. Cameron Brown, Charles Coleman, and Anton Jansen. These guys off the right way for sure. So it was nice to see them get a win on their senior night. And again, doesn't look like they're going to do much here in the A10 tournament, but have to like the way that some of their younger guys have finished out the year and have played. Rasheer Fleming, hopefully Reynolds stays and doesn't transfer, and then Lynn Greer as well, along with the guys who've come in, because you did just mention Xavier Brown. So good win to end the regular season. And even if they don't really make any noise here, at least for next year, you have to be very excited about what the Hawks are not only bringing in, but bringing back.
Absolutely. And there was, as you mentioned just a minute ago, like there were encouraging moments in this year. I think they were 7 of 10 at one point. They won 7 out of 10 at one point. So they've been playing well in stretches. They haven't recently so much, this game being an exception, but the future's not bad in Hawk Hill. Hopefully they can get back to, what we're accustomed to seeing under the Martelli era and, and all that. But there's definitely something to look forward to. And, hopefully this A10 tournament, if they play a little bit well, can be a building block for that, because it can give them a taste of some postseason success, which can go a long way. So we'll see what happens there. But good win by St. Joe's on their last game of the regular season. And now March.
Our last couple previews too.
Yes. This is our last episode of the regular season. So this is the last previews of the regular season. After this, it is single elimination. You're done if you lose. And it's exhilarating, but definitely anxious too. So we're going to get into the regular season ones, though. Not that some of these don't matter, because this first one we're going to talk about matters a lot, but also might not matter at all. And I'll get to why. Penn traveling to Princeton Saturday at noon. Right now, they are the 2 and 3 seed in the Ivy League tournament. And if Yale wins, they will lock up the 1 seed. They will be the 1 seed. But if Yale loses, the winner of this game will be the 1 seed in the Ivy League tournament, excuse me. So it is a very, very important game, but also could be nothing at the same time, which is kind of crazy. But we're going to get into this Princeton team. 122nd in KenPom. They have the 100th ranked offense. So having a top 100 offense is definitely nothing to sneeze about at all. They are 58th in effective field goal percentage, and they are 46th in defensive effective field goal percentage. They are 33rd in 3-point percentage. And a couple things they don't do well. They're 220th in free throw percentage. And they are 352nd in defensive turnover percentage, which this Penn team does have a little bit of a tendency to turn the ball over. So that could be something in their favor. And listen, we have talked a lot about this Penn team. They're on a streak right now, 8 in a row. Princeton is one of the best teams in this conference, though they did blow a pretty big lead to Yale. It was a couple weeks ago at this point now, I think, or last week. My memory kind of sometimes. But recently they blew a big lead to Princeton or to Yale. And they're 2 teams sitting at the same spot in the Ivy League standings, and it's not something that you probably could have imagined a month ago. So it's a lot to play for. Penn's been playing really, really well. Their offense has been clicking. Their defense has been better. I This is tough because it's at Princeton too. I'm gonna go with Quakers. I'm gonna go with the Quakers. I think they're gonna ride this momentum into the Ivy League tournament. Though I will say, obviously, if I had to choose between them beating Princeton now or beating Princeton next week, I'm gonna go with them beating Princeton next week. But this can be a game where they can, see what some things that Princeton does again. Maybe they won't put an insane amount on tape for them. It's more of a football term. I don't know how that will maybe work with basketball, but what do you see them doing where maybe they don't want to give anything away if they are almost essentially locked into this matchup with Princeton?
So I definitely see what you're saying there because it really seems like Yale is going to lock up the 1 seed. Oh, they got to beat Brown. I believe that's a home game as well, or actually might be on the road. But regardless, like I understand what you're saying and what your logic is, but it's go time. Like you don't have I don't think you can hold anything back because in this game you're not only playing for a potential 1 seed, you're playing for a share of the Ivy League championship as well. Like you're going all in. Both teams are going all in to win this game because they obviously they can't control what happens in the other game. But if they take care of business and you win, and then Yale loses, you have the 1 seed, and you're probably going to play Brown, a team that Princeton has actually lost to this year, on the road, albeit. But Penn swept them. But I again, to go back to your question, I don't think this is something that you hold back for because again, like now you're thinking like a week ahead. You want to take it one game at a time. You don't know what's going to
Very
happen.
true.
So, but I'm going to go with the Quakers one. I'm going to tell you why. Princeton 2-5 in their last, or yeah, excuse me, 3-2 in their last 5 games. Wow, math is hard. Never was my strong suit.
Me neither.
That overtime loss at home that they blew to Yale, a shorthanded Yale team on the way. By the way, who the night before had just lost to Penn. Matt Nowlin gets hurt in that game, so it was a shorthanded Yale team that then had to play overtime. The last time that these two teams played each other, to me, and I went to a bunch of Penn games this year. This was the best team that I saw Penn play. They were extremely disciplined. Both ends of the court, they were just really, really didn't make a lot of mistakes. The thing that worries me about this game is they really don't have anybody to guard Tosan Williams. He gave Nick Spinoso and Max Lorca-Lloyd problems because it's not like he's a guy that's going to just pull a bunch of threes in the perimeter and make you guard him out and make you stay on him out there and contest shots. You have to guard him all the way from the 3-point line to the basket. Like he almost reminded me of Kyle Anderson a little bit, not to make an NBA comp, but he never got sped up. He never was out of control. He played at his pace the whole game, had a couple assists, 26 and 7. I mean, they didn't have an answer for him getting to the rim and getting the line a couple times. So that's the part that worries me because although Jordan Dingle's the second leading scorer in the nation and is probably worthy of Ivy League Player of the Year, I think Tosan's going to win it back to back. I mean, the guy's unbelievable, such a unique skill set for us. But the way Penn's been playing, and you look at the last time they played, Penn is now 8-1 in their last 9 since that game. The only loss being their next game, which is an away game at Yale. They ripped off 7 conference wins, 8 in a row if you include the win at Hartford. They're playing so much better. Clark Slackert started to emerge a little bit. Lucas Monroe's been playing very well. Max Martz has really emerged as not only a 3-point shooting threat, but a guy if they can get him a switch on the block and for the paint a little bit. And because of them gelling and playing a lot better offensively, I think they're going to win this game. And I have a hot take for you, Kyle, because I don't know if you remember the last time these two teams played each other, Penn did not make a 3-point shot for the first
I
time
do
since
remember.
2009. So I have a
I do
hot take
remember.
for you, Kyle. Not only do I think Penn is going to make a 3, I think they're going to make multiple 3s in this game, and I think they're going to win it. And then that sets up a huge potential rubber match the week after where they could play each other for a third time and the second time in 2 weeks. Oh, I'm going to go with the Quakers here. Princeton starting to stumble a little bit. They did lose to Dartmouth on the road. Now, Penn did that, but that was also very early on in conference play. They're hot. It's a team that's lost a couple games lately that they definitely should have won. I'm going to go with the Quakers here to ride their momentum. Like I said, offensively, they have been playing so much better as a team, not just relying on Jordan Dingle and Clark Slackert. As a team, George Smith off the bench too, with his ability to shoot the ball and how well he's been playing. As a team,
Joe
offensively,
Charles, glue guy.
They've been playing a lot better. Lucas Monroe's been really good as a glue guy. Um, and they've been playing at a faster pace too, because in the half court, this Princeton defense was pretty solid. Jason Slackard from behind, kind of bracketing him as a smaller guard, and Slackard not really allowing him to get to his shots and take tough shots. So I like the pace they've been playing at as well. But offensively, that's why I think they're going to win. They've been playing so much better, and I think they're going to go into Jadwin Gymnasium and they're going to beat Princeton here, and they're going to not only share the Ivy League title with Yale, but this is one of the oldest rivalries in college basketball. The way I used to walk into the Palestra in the back entrance to go to work, the Penn Princeton rivalry scoreboard's right there. It's currently Penn 126, Princeton 120. I think they're going to tally on a 7 on there. It's going to be Penn 127 and Princeton 120. So really old rivalry, really great game. You mentioned all the implications. Give me the Quakers to keep riding this momentum, and they will make it 9 in a row going into Ivy Madness.
I sure hope so. I sure hope so. It's going to be a great game. I'm very excited. And then we got Ivy League tournament right there back at Princeton. So it's exciting times in the
Also,
Ivy League Conference.
I don't need to do that. I just want to correct you just so we're straight here. Princeton's 33rd in the country in 2-point field goal
Did I
percentage.
say 3-point?
Yeah, they're 171st because I wanted to look at strictly like their conference numbers today. They're 171st overall, actually 6th of 8 teams in the Ivy League as far as 3-point. So
Gotcha.
just want to make sure that the viewer at home is.
No, you're good. They're a very good 2-point shooting team. They're not a great 3-point shooting team. So we have that clarified. All right, moving on now. This game definitely does not have as many implications. I will tell you that much. Loyola going to the Tom Goal Arena. I don't know why I said the in front of it. Tom Goal Arena to take on LaSalle Saturday at 2 p.m. Listen, we've been over this Loyola team a few times now. Not a great team. 258th in KenPom. A couple things they do well: 66 in effective field goal percentage, 29 in 2-point percentage. But outside of that, a whole lot of red. They have improved though in this number that we talked about. They are now 350th in turnover percentage. When we first started talking about them early in the conference play, they were 362. So we're creeping up a little bit, Ramblers. There you go. 309th in offensive rebound percentage, and then they are also 289th in free throw percentage. So, like I said, this is not a good team. They're traveling to Philly to take on the Explorers. I don't even want to spend a lot of time on this. Not that I want to completely dismiss this Loyola team, but I'm going to take LaSalle. I think they're going to win on their senior day. And I think they're going to go into conference play with a tiny bit of momentum with this win. They are the better team, and I think they'll be able to show that in this one. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to agree with you. A little synopsis, I guess, in this team because we have seen them play St. Joe's twice. A lot of new players. Still a very young coach in Drew Valentine, who's the youngest in Division One. He doesn't really have all his holdovers from the last couple of years, or from especially last year. He's still at Lucas Williamson. No Cam Crutwig isn't walking through that door. Guys like that, they're not coming through that door. Totally different team. So a couple guys got to worry about. Philip Alston, the D2 transfer, has been great. He still has Braden Arts. It's Braden Arts, Tom Welsh, and I think Marquise Kennedy are his 3 holdovers from that team. If you remember that upset number 1 seed Illinois 2 years ago in the COVID tournament, 2021. But a lot of new players. It's a young coach, and because of that, yeah, they turned the ball over a ton, and it's been bad for him, especially the 2 games that they played against St. Joe's. So because of that, you also add in the fact they just moved up from the Missouri Valley Conference to come to the A10, and it's maybe you're like, oh, they're moving from one mid-major to another. Like, it's not the same. The A10 is
It's a step up, though.
Conference.
It's a step up.
It's definitely a step up. They've been feeling the effects of that. Unfortunately, it's been a rough season. Everybody's got to get acclimated. Better coaches, better players, just better everything. You're completely moving up in class as far as conferences go here. So because of that, yeah, I'm going to take LaSalle as well. They have the coaching advantage. They're at home. They're the better team. They don't turn the ball over nearly as much. All that needs to be said about this. So, fortunately for the Ramblers, nothing against Drew Valentine because he did make the tournament last year in his first season as the head coach of this team. But they're definitely not Porter Moser's Ramblers for sure. So, been a rough acclimation for them to move up to the A10. And unfortunately, I think the regular season is going to end with another loss But good for LaSalle because I think it'll end with a win. So I definitely think that the Explorers will win here at Tom Gold Arena. And then the regular season with the win after kind of sliding to the finish line.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they had not been playing great lately, but I think this is, as we say often on the show, a get right spot. So I think they're going to be able to take care of business at home Saturday at 2 p.m. All right, another game Saturday. This one, 7:30 down in South Philly at the Wells Fargo Center. We've got UConn coming to town to take on our Villanova Wildcats. And this UConn team, we talked about them before. Nova played them. That was the last game of their undefeated streak to start the season when UConn won. After that, they lost to Xavier. They were on a little bit of a losing streak and not playing great, and they fell toward the bottom of the rankings. Never fell out, but fell toward the bottom. Now they're creeping back up, and they're still a really, really good team with championship aspirations. They're fifth in KenPom. This is no joke of a team here. Eighth in offense, 21st in defense, number one in the country in offensive rebound percentage, which is huge. Obviously, Adama Sanogo's a big part of that, and he is the engine of this UConn team. He's their best player. They are 10th in defensive effective field goal percentage. They are 17th in both defensive 3-point percentage and 2-point percentage. And the one thing that I noticed on their KenPom page that they do not do very well, they are 332nd in defensive free throw attempts per field goal attempt. So that's the one thing that was not great for this UConn team. But listen, they're an experienced team. Yes, they got upset in the tournament last year by New Mexico State, but they're an experienced team. Daniel Hurley's a good coach. Whether people like him or not, I like him. I think he's a good coach. They have one of the better players in the country at Adama Sanogo. This is a really, really good team. And if I had to pick a team that Nova's great streak came to an end on, I think it would be this UConn team because it's just going to be difficult. They're a really good defensive team. Obviously, they're an even better offensive team. And yes, Nova's played great teams recently. Like, Creighton's a great team. I think Creighton could definitely make a deep run in this tournament. Not on the same level as UConn, though, in my opinion. Close, but not quite. So I'm going to take the Huskies in this one. And I hate to say it because Nova's playing really, really well, but I am going to take the Huskies. And I don't think it'll kill their momentum going into the Big East tournament. I still think they could walk away with a couple wins, if not, maybe even win the whole damn thing. But in this particular one, I am going to go with UConn. What do you think?
It's tough. I've been like fighting with this all day. I'm not really sure because obviously Nova's been hot, and then I'm at dinner with my dad yesterday, and I'm watching the UConn DePaul game, and they fucking pulverized them. I mean, I'm sorry, that's the only way I can describe what
No,
happened.
they did. No,
It was 40-8 at one point in the first half. I mean, I think DePaul had 2 points in the first 9 minutes. It was 23-2 at one point, the halfway mark, and it was 40-8 at one point. They pulverized them yesterday. But you look at the last time these two teams played before I get to my pick here. UConn was ranked number 2 in the country. Villanova goes up there without Justin Moore. And that they did have Jordan Longino for this game, but they go up there without Justin Moore, obviously. Caleb Daniels, 23 points, 9 of 15 field. Eric Dixon, 18 and 8. Villanova shot 22.7% from 3, and they turned the ball over. Here's the kicker: 18 times. Justin Moore is going to help a lot, giving them a primary ball handler that's going to play a lot in this game because with Andre Jackson and Jordan Hawkins, they're going to press. They worked for him last game and they forced a shitload of turnovers. They're going to do the same thing and they're going to press. So you have to cut down on those turnovers if you want to win because you're going to face pressure from it. However, they did out-rebound the Huskies here, which is surprising because you talk about Adama Sanogo, but we also talk about the massive 7'4" center, 7'3" center, something like that. Whatever it is, the guy's giant and Donovan Clingan has been horrific as a freshman, not only for UConn, but one of the best in the Big East this year. So, although I thought the size would be a total mismatch for Villanova, they actually were able to out-rebound him last time. So, I'll throw that out there. You throw in the fact that Justin Moore is back. He's been playing well, shooting well. I think that Justin Moore cuts down on those turnovers for you. He also helps you improve and improve that 3-point shooting a little bit. It's March. I'm going to take Villanova to get another upset, close out the year strong. They're at home. They're hot right now. That's all I can say. They're playing their best basketball. And when you talk about a starting five of Caleb Daniels, Justin Moore, Eric Dixon, and Brandon Slater, those are 4 guys that just played on a Final Four team last year. And you throw in that they have a lottery pick in Cam Whitmore. That starting five can match up with pretty much about anybody, not only in the Big East, but in America. It is a damn good starting five when they're fully healthy. Now, Brandon Slater doesn't have to be as much of a scorer. He can be a role guy, shoot threes when he's open, attack when he has an opportunity, play defense and play his role. So I'm actually going to take Nova to sneak out an upset here. Um, I wanted to take UConn, I guess, for the jinx. I really hope that Nova can pull this one out because they are playing well. So let's get weird. It's March. I'm ready for some crazy stuff to happen. So I'm gonna take Nova in a big time upset here to go screaming hot into the Big East tournament and make some noise about potentially stealing a bit.
I mean, it would definitely be awesome to see. In my opinion, I just don't think it happened, but that's okay. We could agree to disagree. It's going to be a really good game regardless, and I'm excited to watch it on Saturday night. So
It wouldn't be the first, second, or the 10th time that me and you have been wrong on the show.
correct. One of us is going to be wrong, and we are wrong sometimes, and we're right sometimes. It's just how it is. But yeah, that'll be a really good one on Saturday night. So definitely looking forward to that. All right, the last game of the regular season on the Big Five pod that we are talking about. That's crazy to say, but here we go. Temple Owls traveling up to Tulane, taking on the Green Wave, or I guess traveling down to Tulane, rather, taking on the Green Wave Sunday at 2 o'clock. And this Tulane team is a very quality team. They beat Temple at home. I believe it was in January. During Temple's good stretch, it was their one of their losses in their good stretch about a month or so ago. However, this team has lost 3 straight. Definitely looking a little vulnerable right now, but still a quality team. So we're gonna get into them right now. 94th in Ken Palm. They are a very, very fast-paced team. We've talked about St. John's being a fast-paced team. We talked about, the likes of I don't know exactly the pace of Marquette and Xavier off the top of my head, but I know that they like to get up and down a little bit, and they're great offensive teams. This Tulane team might beat all of them in pace. They are third in adjusted tempo in the country. They are seventh in average length of possession. When you talk about getting up and down the floor, these guys do it better than pretty much anyone. Surprisingly enough, 16th in turnover percentage. So despite the fact that they're moving a lot, they're not turning the ball over. They take care of the ball really, really well, which will be important against this Temple Owls team for them because Temple, not so much, doesn't really like to take care of the ball. So winning the turnover margin will be something Tulane's going to want to do against the Owls in this one. A couple other things, though. They're 41st in 2-point percentage. They're 9th in free throw percentage, which is something also Temple's pretty good at, too. The one thing that they are really, really not good at, like, not second to last, third to last in the country, offensive rebound percentage. They are 361st. So could be an advantage for a Temple team that does have some size and definitely has some athleticism. Even if you talk about the smaller people who can get rebounds like Zach Hicks and Nick Jourdain, obviously Jamil Reynolds and Corjon Cooch is in there too. Congrats on rebounds. So this will be an interesting game. I am going to go with Tulane, considering the fact that this Tulane team beat a better version of this Temple team at the Liacouras Center. And I know Tulane hasn't been playing well lately, but I just think it's not a great matchup for Temple. And I think Tulane gets right here before the American tournament. So I'm going to go with the Green Wave. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you, and it's unfortunate that Temple's not going to have Caleb Battle for this game. He led them in scoring with 21 the last time they played, and without him, this game, definitely would have been a blowout with the ability of Tulane to not only get up and down but score. I mean, they had 52 points in the second half in this game. They scored and they scored whenever they wanted to, especially in the second half. So I don't know if I would necessarily say this was like I no, I guess you could say it was a better version of this Temple team because they did have Caleb Battle and had a bailout score when they needed one. And although not going to have him this game, they are going to have Jamil Reynolds, who they didn't have.
That's true. That's true.
But regardless, I'm going to take Tulane. If I'm just not really big on this. Ever since the battle news came down, I mean, I don't really know how you can be in on these guys. I hate to say it, but just don't have the scoring prowess without him. And when you play against a team like this who can score the ball and is going to fly up and down the court, if they have a good day shooting like they did last time, they were just a tick under 50% from the field. They made 7 of their 16 threes. If they're going to have a game that's even remotely close to that, I just don't really see how they'll be able to keep up with them and score. And for that, and strictly for that reason, I'm I'm going to roll with Tulane as well. Unfortunately, Temple's kind of stumbling to the finish line. Great win today, obviously, against UCF. But without Caleb Battle, I'm just not seeing how they work. So I'm gonna roll with Tulane as well. And unfortunately, after a nice streak, I feel like every team in the Big Five in the last month has actually had a really nice winning streak. Unfortunately, Temple's was one that was I think came the earliest, and just seems like the wheels are starting to come off the bus as we get toward the end here. So I'm gonna roll with Tulane. Especially on the road though. On the road against a team that's going to score a lot, I don't really see Temple being able to win it. So, and I can't roll with the Owls here, and I have to go with Ron Hunter's Greenway.
Yeah, I mean, I think they were the earliest team that had a streak. I think they were started conference play either 7-2 or 8-2. They were on fire, and then they played Houston at home, and they were winning in the first half. And ever since that second half of that game, the wheels just kind of fell off,
Yeah,
and
you might have had a point because you did say like was it the
it
second
broke their
half of the
spirit.
Houston game that kind of broke them, and you might have had a point there because it hasn't been good ever since they came out of the locker room in that Houston game. I mean, it just hasn't been good.
It has not been the same team. Like
It hasn't been.
coming out of the locker room of that Houston game, which we were both in the building for, I thought, damn, if they hold on here, they might be a tournament team. Like they were playing that well at the time. They had beaten
Yeah,
Houston. They lost at the brink against Memphis at home. They had beaten a UCF team. They were playing well. They were playing really, really great basketball. The best basketball they had played all season. And I obviously I talked about it at the time, but I sensed in that game that the Caliph battle bailout shot making was keeping them afloat in that first half, and I didn't think it was sustainable. And unfortunately, I was right. But ever since that game, I mean, even the press conference after, Caliph just seemed like, damn, like we had him and we let him go. And those the biggest crowd one of the biggest crowds he's probably ever played in front of at Temple. The Villanova game was probably up there too this year. Um, but it seemed like there was a sense of letdown after that. And I think unfortunately it broke their spirit. And tonight was a great win, like we mentioned. But then you go and lose to SMU, you get blown out by Memphis. It spiraled from there. And yeah, it's unfortunate, but I think it ends on a loss here to Tulane. I really do. And
yeah.
hopefully they can salvage something to go into the tournament, the American tournament that is, but I just don't see it. So I'm gonna go with Tulane here.
And also
Um,
just a quick note to piggyback of what you said, because obviously they have this game and then they are going to go to the American tournament. And they're going to go there without Caleb Battle. If there was any doubt in anybody's mind, is he going to come back for maybe this Tulane game? Is he going to be back for the conference tournament? Aaron McKee said in his press conference today, like we're going to move forward with the guys that we have. We're moving on. Basically telling you that he's not going to play the rest of the season without directly to you. So he's not going to be back for this game Sunday. He's not going to be back at all this season. And also, I mean, hey, Aaron McKee's never won an AAC tournament game since he's been the head coach at Temple, and to now do that without your leading scorer just doesn't seem very promising.
no,
But wanted
and
to throw that out there because I know that there wasn't much detail about it. Just said he's away from the team. He's not with the team anymore, but he's not going to play.
no, I'm glad you mentioned it because there's obviously he's an important piece of this Temple team, and he's not here right now and hasn't been for the last few games. But going back to that point about the American tournament, that McKee's never won a game in the American tournament, even dating back to Dunphy, I'm pretty sure either the last time or one of the last times that they did win a game was at least 2018, because 2019 when they made the NCAA tournament as a playing game, they lost the first round of the American tournament that year too, which they were coming off that win against UCF at home on senior night, Fran's last game at home, and that win solidified them being an at-large team in the tournament, and then they dropped the next one in the American tournament. So it's been a while since they've won a game in this tournament. Obviously, the 2020 tournament didn't happen with COVID, but it's been a little bit. So hopefully they can turn around and they can win one. They're likely going to be playing Cincinnati, which will be a tough matchup for them. I know they just took them to overtime at their place, but it'll be interesting to say the least. But hopefully they can win that one. But I do have my doubts on that one too. But we'll talk about that next time. We'll talk about that next time because we're gonna have some conference tournament play to talk about after this episode concludes. So with that being said, that's pretty much all I got. Do you have anything else you wanna add here?
Just one thing. and you even touched on it earlier as we were talking. We were both in attendance for the Catholic League final on Monday, both the girls and the boys game. Both were absolutely spectacular. They had awesome endings. The place was loud. The corners were filled. It was sold out. Big Five, do better. Lansdale Catholic bus their students from Lansdale, from right around the corner from my house. Hey, Temple, I'm looking at you specifically because they said that they won't do this. If a high school from Lansdale is going to bus kids down to the Palestra, you should be doing it too. You should do better. I can't believe I saw that the student section was packed. Now, obviously, it's a championship game for their league, and it's not just a regular season game. And we hope that those Big Five games can mean something. But those kids were coming from Lansdale, and they got bussed down there. I bet it wasn't an issue. They were like, "Oh my God, we're playing at the Palestra. Whoever wants to come can get on the bus and go." And they won't even send a bus down there. They'll send 20 to a football game. What are we doing here? Do better. Do better. You want people to go to your games. You want them to go to the Big Five games at the Palestra. Bus them down there. If a high school from Montgomery County, from right around the corner from me and you, Kyle, can do it, you should be doing it too, and you can. And they're making excuses for it. So don't mean to be like that because it's March. I want to be positive. I'm excited.
No, but you're right.
Best part of the season's here, but like to go in and see that Lansdale Catholic had the student section filled and they were loud. They had a ton of fun there at the Palestra, and they all got a ride down there from the school, from a high school. Why can't the Big Five schools do that? What's holding you back? And then they wonder why the attendance sucks and there's no students there.
And they have a lot more money to do it than those high
give them a ride
schools.
down there.
They got a lot more money than those high schools to bus people
Exactly.
down, and it's
Exactly.
less distance. But also, like to your point about them being able to bus people to Lincoln Financial Field for football games, maybe going on the Wells Fargo will incentivize them more to bus people down there and try to fill that arena, which is unfortunate because I think the Big Five games do belong at the Palestra. But maybe that'll give them more of an incentive to put people in seats, and I hope so because the Big Five teams deserve to have those crowds for those games because they mean something. And I know maybe it's lost its luster a little bit in the last few years, especially with Villanova's dominance besides this year, but they need to get back to where they were before. So they need to figure that out. But also, as you mentioned about the Catholic Championship games, those were honestly two of the best basketball games I've ever seen in person.
Yeah.
Or in general, really, but especially in person. Talk about a game winner with like 20 seconds left on a ridiculous shot, and then a game tying buzzer beater three going overtime and winning. Especially they were down 7 in the fourth quarter of that game. Roman Catholic was. So great night of basketball. I'm really glad that we went. And
also, if I could, I don't mean to drag this thing out. I just think this is important because there's a guy that we've seen before. Unfortunately, Detroit Mercy lost tonight.
I was going to ask you about that.
And unless they get some sort of, and I don't think they have a good enough record to do so, Antoine Davis is going to finish 4 points short of Pete Maravich's all-time NCAA scoring record.
No.
That's unfair. And Youngstown's, I believe they're the one in the horizon.
They are the one seed.
And they were winning most of that game, and they ended up, unfortunately, they lost. Because the thing that's funny is me and you probably are my freshman year, even when I was at LaSalle, I got tickets to the Temple game. We went down and Temple was playing Detroit Mercy. And they were winning at halftime. You see this dude's a flamethrower shooting from all over the court. And it was Antoine Davis as a freshman.
Antoine Davis.
And who would have thought? I never would have thought he could have broke Pistol Pete's record. But then, COVID happened. He gets an extra year. But regardless, I mean, he's a absolutely incredible score, literally in the likes of some of which have never been seen before in the sport. Painful, man. 4 points short of Pistol Pete's record.
Brutal.
They should let him into CBI or something like that, just so he can get it.
Yeah, I hope so. Oh my God. Yeah, I remember watching when we went 2018. It was a sight to see. But yeah, hopefully shout out to Antoine Davis. Hopefully he gets a chance, but we'll see. But that's all we got for this one. Make sure you guys, well, first of all, thank you guys so much for tuning in this entire regular season. Very appreciative. We're going to keep it going for the postseason, and we're going to have some off-season stuff too, which we will get to obviously a little later. But for now, we're going to focus on some March basketball because it's here. It's March. So like I said, thank you guys for tuning in as always. Make sure you like and subscribe on our YouTube. Make sure you follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Big Five Pod. And make sure you listen to our audio only versions on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Like I said, thank you guys so much. As always, we appreciate it. And listen, now it's conference tournaments. Go enjoy it. We're going to be back with previews of this starting next week. So enjoy it, and we will see you then.